And it's streaming.
Yes. Hello, and welcome to Session Zero by Critshers. I am your Master of Ceremonies, Joseph. With me today, hosts, Marcus.
But if you're the sorcerer and I'm the paladin, who's the game master?
David.
That would be me.
And Lucas.
I didn't have much time to prepare, so you could say I crammed.
Oh, nice.
You'll get that pun in a second.
Yes, and today we are doing Big Gay Orcs and other one-page RPGs. Now, before we begin, little channel update. If you've ever go to our archive on YouTube and start watching our playlist of Session Zeros, you will notice that for the first two episodes, there is a fifth dude named Tarzan. He found out that he really didn't enjoy how we were the format for our Session Zeros, which, by the by, in the near future, we will be kind of switching it up a little bit. So he will no longer be a regular participant for Session Zeros. That being said, we also have other content we are going to be working on doing for both our YouTube and Twitch channels, and he will be part of that.
Hopefully.
We're going to try. He has said yes, he would be interested in being part of Session 1s when we actually do a session of these games that we review. And there's also other stuff we want to put out. And also, I'm thinking about maybe like if we could possibly put like video game content up on the Crit Fishers YouTube channel if we feel like it. So he might.
We'll workshop it.
But yeah. Also, today was supposed to be Lords of Gossamer and Shadow, but because it's Easter and April Fools, we are doing
Easter Fools.
We are doing one-page RPGs. So to kick us off, we have Lucas with what's it called?
The Compressed Role-Playing Adventure Manual, otherwise known as CRAM.
Awesome.
All right. So CRAM is they pack a lot of information onto this one page. Starting with what you need to play, which is multiple players and a DM, some D6s or your standard dice, the more the better, and some index cards for player info. The system runs on 4 stats: physical, mental, vitality, and luck. And the numbers that would go associated with the stats is scale of 1, which is subhuman, to 15 is superhuman. Character creation, you are assigned 20 points to your attributes, no less than 1 and no more than 15 in any attribute. And additionally, you pick 2 skills from the list of skills. Beyond that, you have a starting cash of 15 times your luck value, and that is the entire thing of character creation. Beyond that is the picking of your 2 skills. Skills are athletics, lore, martial, medicine, psionics, rhetoric, science, subterfuge, survival, and vocation. And how skills work is if they are relevant when you're doing a check, they essentially double your dice.
All right.
For buying your equipment, there are a very small number of things to buy, as makes sense because they have to fit everything on one page. There are standard/hobbyist kits, which costs $10. A reminder that your cash is 15 times your luck. And they do simple things. So, like, for a medical skill, it would be a first aid kit. For $100, there is the deluxe or pro kits, which for the medicine skill check would be like a doctor's bag and maybe some decent equipment. Beyond that, there are weapons. There are 4 tiers of weapon. The melee weapons do not get the 4th tier, and the first tier of melee costs $5, then $25 for second, and $75 for third. Projectile weapons is $50 for first, $100 for second, $250 for third, and $500 for 4th tier. And you use weapons in combat is a physical skill check, where you get a number of dice equal to your physical skill plus 1. For each tier is your physical skill plus a number or a different number. So the first tier is physical skill plus 1. or 5 dice, whichever is greater. Tier 2 is physical plus 2 or 8 dice. 3 is physical plus 3 or 11. And tier 4 is physical plus 4 or 14. And we'll get to how dealing with dice works. Finally, there's armor. Light costs 50, medium costs 300, and heavy costs 1,500. And they reduce your physical score by 1, 2, and 5, respectively. And whenever someone makes an attack on you, you reduce their number of successes by 1, 2, and 3, respectively. So now to the meat of the system is ability checks. Whenever you want to do a thing, that thing will have a skill, a stat associated with it. So either physical, mental, vitality, or luck. And they can have skills associated. The DM will think of a... they would think of a target number that's... no, they would think of a target difficulty. So this is like trivial, easy, moderate, difficult, nearly impossible. And that will modify the number of dice you get. So a trivial physical task would give you 5 additional dice in addition to your physical trait and any skills that are relevant. If you have a relevant skill, you generally double your dice, but dice caps out at 13 dice. You roll all of your 6-sided dice. And any 6s you roll, you re-roll. And if you roll any 1s, you succeed. So essentially, this is a D5 system where you're trying to get 1s to succeed. When applicable, multiple 1s counts as multiple orders of success. This is generally for combat. And if you roll all 5s on every single one of your dice, you get a crit fail. For combat, how this works is that you still have the trivial, easy, moderate, difficult, nearly impossible that either add or remove an amount of dice. And the number of successes you do determines how much damage you do, which will reduce the target's physical trait. No, wrong. Vitality. That's what vitality is for. And when their vitality hits 0, obviously you kill them. This is how you also get hurt. And damage reduction from armor reduces the number of successes that you deal in damage. And that is almost the entirety of it, with the exception of that you can... it doesn't specify whether this is temporary or permanently burn a point in your luck stat to roll a d6 and add that many successes to your result. And that is
that many successes.
That many successes. It is very useful in combat, and in doing an ability check, it just generally means you guaranteed succeed. And that is the entire game. So now I'm going to throw it to you guys for questions.
How hard was it to read?
Not terrible, minus the fact that it's a bit dense in text. Like it's packed, but pretty well organized. I did make the mistake of reading it in columns when you're supposed to read top to bottom, left to right in the chunks. So basically, it's a 2x4 grid of text boxes, and they do a nice thing where you have white background, light gray background in a grid so that you can easily define the areas. It is very straightforward and pretty easy to read. A bit... some of its wording is a bit weird in order to reduce on space needed. Like in character creation, it says apportion 20 points between your character's attributes, making this the third time I've ever seen the word apportion used in text.
All right. Well,
Were there the 2 times in RPGs?
No, it's just I
the Bible?
read old stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've my high school made me read a bunch of lit stuff.
Wow.
So does that game have like a GM, or is it mostly?
Yes, it does have a GM for setting up the story and defining difficulties for tasks and knowing what enemies you're going to face,
Damn.
and they are set up essentially the same as you.
So it's essentially a full RPG system crammed into one page.
And then they have a little additional card of where the additional page where they show an example of a possible it's the official Cram character card, which just has a slot to put in your physical stat, mental stat, vitality, luck. And actually something I see in the cards that is not really mentioned in the rules is that that physical and mental have to do with specific things like strength, speed, agility, knowledge, reasoning, and perception are listed in this at +2 with stars by them. I'm not quite sure because I didn't see that in the reading. But in the base rules, it's actually just it's a very simple D5 system. Roll for successes.
And it's
That's-
D5. That's weird.
Yeah, because you just re-roll all sixes. Yeah, it's an interesting way of doing it. I feel like if you were to look at the math of rolls, because if you don't have a skill in any ability you're doing, and the associated skill with combat is martial, you roll dice equal to your stat, but no more than 7. And then if you have a skill, then you roll no less than 2 dice and up to 13.
Hey, wait, you said that 5 is a crit fail?
If you roll all 5s is a crit fail. For an ability check, any number of 1s is an immediate success, and all 5s is a crit fail. In combat, each 1 you roll is a point of damage, which can be soaked by the opponent's armor's damage reduction.
So all 1s would be a crit success, all 5s would be a crit fail.
Essentially, but it doesn't list any rules for a critical success.
Okay. Cool.
And yeah, that is Cram. It's something I feel like is very suited for like being a simple like travel game, to where it's something you can throw together in a couple of minutes and do a one-shot, have your characters beat up some guys and then get brutally murdered, and then jump straight into another one in a completely different setting and set of characters. If you just want to play around with little throwaway characters and just have some fun.
It sounds like the kind of thing where you'd see it set up at a con. Like someone would just have a table where they're just constantly running those with rotating players. That seems like the kind of thing that you could do there. Or like you and a bunch of friends are traveling and you can just throw it up in a hotel room.
Yeah.
Okay,
that
who's
is Cram.
next?
You.
Me.
Yes.
So, me being the flamboyant one of the group, I took Big Gay Orcs, or 1,000 Orchid Blossoms, a love story.
Oh no.
Is
That
it
is
spelled
actually-
orc? It blossoms.
ORCHID. And yes, ORC is capitalized.
That's what I was asking. All right.
So the basic premise is that you are an orc champion, and your warlord is dead, and you are like the last orc stronghold, and you're holding out, and this night may be your last night alive, and you can see the enemies coming, and how do you spend your last night? So character creation. You roll a d6 to determine each of your stats: reputation, secret, and motivation. And there's a little handy table. Reputations are pious, brutal, heartless, fearless, furious, and destructive. Your secrets are caring, creative, forgiving, intellectual, fearful, and romantic. And your role is Wilderness Ranger, Omen Scryer, Warlord's ex-bodyguard, Master Weaponsmith, Beast Speaker, and Axe Thrower Sergeant. Yeah. So that's your role. That's your reputation, secret, and role, and then you have your motivation, which are to run away with someone, to take over as a warlord, to be regarded as a hero, to die in battle, get revenge, and finally tell them how you feel. Who is them? I don't know. And then if you want a name, you can roll on another chart to get that.
If you want to name.
Yeah. Okay. So for each role, NPCs, for each role not taken by a player, assign that role to an NPC. By the way, this game doesn't outright state it, but I believe it implies that there is a GM. Actually, hey, the next sentence, it outright states it. All NPCs are controlled by the GM. And then there are relationships. Roll for every other orc, including NPCs, and give that orc a trait which explains the way you feel, i.e., I despise Grok's arrogance. I love Killnesh for the way he takes charge of a situation, yada yada yada. And that NPC player characters do that, and the NPCs do that as well, but the GM does it for them.
So each character has a relation with every other character rolled on a table.
Yes.
Okay.
If you roll straight 6s, you love everyone.
You are the big gay orc.
And if you roll 5s and 6s, you fancy and love them. But yeah, there's despise, frustrated, jealous of, respect, fancy, and love. Okay, here's the meat of the system now. Hope. You begin with 20 hope points and lose some whenever something goes wrong. When you have none left, you leave the fortress or die after one final scene. And you lose DX hope when D3, an unarmed character dies. You're hurt a little. D6, a resource is lost. D6 plus marks, a character betrays you. D8 plus marks, a character leaves or dies. D8, you're at death's door. And D20, the fortress falls into enemy hands. Now, that mentioned marks. We're going to talk on that. Marks are like social assholery tokens. We're going to call them that. So, if you get into conflict with someone and you expose something or flub up, everyone else who's currently in that scene gets marks on you. And, back and forth. Everyone is equal. So the actual rules of the system. When you act, you roll 2 dice. A red dice or a one-colored dice and a different colored dice. And then you roll an additional dice of a third color for if your roll applies to the action that you're doing. So say you are the wilderness ranger and you're, tracking the enemy through the camp, you'd get an extra dice. And then you roll an additional white dice if you are acting against another orc and you have more marks on them than they have on you. If no dice show 4 or more, you don't get what you want and something goes wrong. If 1 dice shows 3, 4 or more, you get what you want at a cost and you don't get everything you want. If 2 or more dice show 4, you get what you want. Now, crit fails and crit success. If you roll a 1 or a 6 on your red dice, your reputation causes problems and you are forced into a choice. Either hurt someone, which remember makes you lose hope, or where was I? I was reading that. Or every other orc in the scene takes a mark on you. And if you roll a 1 or a 6 on your black dice, your secret is shown in some way, and every other orc in the scene takes a mark on you. So this is kind of like, what's that board game where you're trying to lie to people? Clue. But with your gay secret.
Additionally, it kind of reminds me of Maid RPG, where in that one you're maids and you're being competitive, and there are things that you're trying to hide about other players to gain advantage over them. But this one is just straight up that you revealing it gives other people marks which they can use against you.
Exactly. So here's the best part. Making out. If you decide that you'd rather make out with Grok instead of defending the fortress, if you decide that you want to seduce him and make out with the orc, if you're successful, you recover hope equal to D3 plus the sum of the marks you have on each other. Woo! Love, compassion, orc tongue. And events. Each hour of in-game time, roll a D10 and add the number of hours elapsed so far and the number of players who didn't defend the fortress On a repeat event, increase the result by 1 until you get a different event. And there is a list of 17 events, which makes me think that there are only 17 hours left.
Shouldn't it
less.
be well?
You're
So
rolling D6, right?
it's a D10, didn't you say?
Yeah, roll a d10.
D10 plus 1 for every hour. So the first hour you roll a D10 with no modifier, but it's also reduced by the number of orcs on watch, or increased by the number of orcs not on watch.
Increased by the number of orcs not on watch.
Okay, so if it is 3 hours in and there are 4 orcs not on watch, is when you can hit the 17, which is probably really
The
bad.
fortress falls into enemy hands. So
Okay.
It's not for each one you've taken, add 1. It's for every time you hit a repeat, go to the next one, right?
yeah,
So if
Yes.
you roll a 15 and you roll a 15 again, just take 16 instead.
So only event can happen. Each event can only happen once.
exactly. So things like an elder complains, demonstrating strong leadership. I don't know what that means, but that'd be my job as the DM to figure out. An enemy flame arrow ignites the boar pens. Bombardment smash apart the watchtower. An NPC flees the camp. You know, a myriad of bad things. And every time one of those events happens, you lose hope depending on how many marks or what went wrong and yada, yada, yada. And that's essentially big gay orcs. The goal is to make out and not and have as much hope as possible when you die.
All right.
Oh, and there's
Well
a pretty little map on the page.
Cool. Marcus, any questions for David about big gay orcs? Not singling out Marcus, but I was about to transition, and then I decided
yeah.
to back it up.
So does it specifically state that is competitive, that you are trying to be the most hopeful orc when you die?
No, it doesn't specifically state that, but that is kind of the implied. Your goal is to have.
You want to end. You want
either-
to be happiest of all the orcs when we all die.
You either want to have the fewest events happen, or be the happiest when you die. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
This is definitely like straight up a one-shot adventure.
Oh, yeah. This is the kind of like silly game that you play after you've had a few beers one night and no one remembers how to roll a d6 or what a d6 even looks like. But, you know, you all want to scream big gay orcs for half an hour.
Sounds about right.
Yep. All right. If we have no further things on big gay orcs,
I have one more comment.
All right.
Frenching orcs.
The tusks
So,
would get in
lasers
the way.
and feelings.
Yes. Marcus, you're doing lasers and feelings.
Lasers and feelings. You are the crew of the interstellar ship Raptor. Your mission is to explore uncharted regions of space, deal with aliens both friendly and deadly, and defend the consortium against worlds against space dangers. Captain Darcy has been overcome by the strange psychic entity known as Something Else, leaving you to fend for yourselves while he recovers in a medical pod. Character creation. Number 1, choose a style. Alien, android, dangerous, hotshot, intrepid, savvy, or sexy. Choose a role. Doctor, envoy, engineer, explorer, pilot, scientist, or soldier. 3, choose a number from 2 to 5. This is like your only stat. If you choose a high number, that means you're better at lasers, technology, science, cold rationality, calm, precise action. A low number means you're better at feelings, intuition, diplomacy, seduction, wild, passionate action. Wild, passionate action. Number 4, give your character a cool space adventure name like Sparks McGee or something. You have a consortium uniform with built-in vac suit for spacewalks and a super sweet space phone camera communicator scanner thing with universal translator and a variable beam phase pistol set to stun usually. Player goal: get your character involved in crazy space adventures and try to make the best of them. Your character goal: choose one or create your own. Become captain, shoot bad guys, find new worlds, solve weird space mysteries, prove yourself, or keep being awesome because you have nothing to prove.
I noticed that you skipped Meet Sexy Aliens.
Okay, yeah, that's there too. As a group, pick 2 strengths for the Raptor: fast, nimble, well-armed, powerful shields, superior sensors, cloaking device, or fighter craft. Also pick 1 problem: Fuel Hog, always needs energy crystals, only 1 medical pod, and Captain Darcy is in it. Horrible circuit breakers in battle consoles tend to explode on the bridge, and grim reputation. Captain Darcy did bad stuff in the past. Dice rolling. Whenever you do something risky, roll 1d6 to find out how it goes. Roll an additional d6 if you're prepared, and 1 more after that if you're an expert. And the GM tells you how many dice to roll based on your character and situation. Roll the dice and compare each die result to your number. If you're using lasers for this action, you want to roll under your number. So if it's a science or reason thing, you want to roll under. If you're using feelings for rapport or passion, you want to roll over. If none of your dice succeed, it goes wrong. The GM says how things get worse somehow. If 1 die succeeds, you barely manage it. The GM inflicts a complication, harm, or cost. If 2 dice succeed, you did it well. Good job. If 3 dice succeed, you get a critical success. The GM tells you some extra effect you get. If you roll your number exactly, you have laser feelings. You get a special insight into what's going on. Ask the GM a question, and they'll answer you honestly. Some good questions are, what are they really feeling? Who's behind this? How can I get them to blank? What should I be on the lookout for? What's the best way to blank? What's really going on here? You can change your action if you want to, then roll again. If you want to help someone else who's rolling, say how you try to help and make a roll. If you succeed, give them an extra die. And the GM has to create a space adventure. There's a set of tables here, which I'll roll on. So a threat, the Hive Armada wants to steal/capture the alien artifact, which will destroy a solar system. And then the GM runs a game. You find out how to defeat the threat, introduce the threat by showing evidence of its recent badness. Before a threat does something to the characters, show signs that it's about to happen. Then ask what they do. Zorgon charges the mega cannons on his ship. What do you do? Danella pours you a glass of Arcturian whiskey and slips her arm around your waist. What do you do? Roll for a call when the situation is uncertain. Don't pre-plan outcomes. Let the chips fall where they may. Use failures to push the action forward. The situation always changes after a roll, for good or ill. Ask questions and build on answers. Have any of you encountered a void cultist before? Where? What happened? End of document. Basically, I like to describe it as the Three Stooges do
Star Trek.
Yeah, the Three Stooges do Star Trek, basically.
I like how one of the witch wills for the space adventure, because it's a threat wants to the witch will, and one of the witch wills is fix everything. So you just turned into the bad guys.
Yeah.
Or the people who comedically ruin everything.
Yeah.
I'd like to think it's a little bit of both.
Or the bad guys are trying to capture the thing that wants to fix everything, and you need to take it back.
Oh, we should mention. I'm sure a lot of people who might ever see this have heard of Lasers and Feelings, but you might not have heard that it's actually based off of an amazing song by the Double Clicks.
Oh yeah,
I'm guessing it's called Lasers and Feelings.
It is called Lasers and Feelings.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to Google
'Cause
that.
you've got lasers and I've got feelings.
No, we don't own that.
I sound nothing like it.
We still
Well,
don't
we're not
own
making
that.
money. We're not making money off this episode.
Yeah, but we still don't own that.
The joke is we don't make money anyway.
Yeah. All right. Any questions on Lasers and Feelings?
No, I love it. It's a great game.
All right.
It ridiculously fly by the seat of your pants. You go, you do stuff, you do lasers, you do feelings. You're good at lasers, or you're good at feelings, or maybe you're kind of good at both. You roll dice and stuff happens.
It reminds me of a system where you are bears trying to do a heist. I think it's called Honey Heist. And bears have, instead of having lasers and feelings, you have a bear trait and a thief trait. I forget what they're called, but very similar to this, to where you're trying to roll under. But in that one, as you do bear things, you increase towards being more bear, and as you do thief things, you increase towards being more thief. And in that one, if your bear hit a certain number, you just go savage, and if your thief hits a certain number, you just go criminal mastermind.
Damn.
Unfortunately, in this, you can't go full laser or full feelings. I feel like full laser would look a lot more interesting.
You can go full laser. You can just pick 5.
You can pick 5, but it's like you don't become like, it's like, oh no,
Spock.
my laser hit 6, so now I'm a calculating killing machine that, or just explode in a giant burst of energy as going full laser would actually sound like.
Yeah.
Never go full laser.
And so now, Joseph, I believe you have the fantasy variant.
Yes, because I'm derivative as hell. Scrolls and swords. All right, so I'm basically going to shotgun this because it's basically lasers and feelings, but fantasy. Create your character. You choose a style. Drunk, master, idiot, righteous, criminal, dangerous, or sexy. Choose a role. Warrior, bard, ranger, wizard, priest, paladin, or thief. Choose a number. From 2 to 5. High number means better at scrolls, magic, logic, calm, precise actions. Low numbers means better at swords, passionate action, wild intuition, and diplomacy. Choose an adventurer name, because, choose a weapon. You have a weapon of your choice, items from your adventures, clothing to fit your role. Bond. Choose one of these to apply to the player on your left. Blank owes me their life, saved my life, is my sibling, owes me gold, needs my help, is the chosen one. Rules. Scrolls roll under your number, swords roll over. You roll a 1d6 to find out how it goes, plus 1d6 if you are prepared, plus 1d6 if you're an expert. If you get no successes, it goes wrong. If you get 1, you just manage it. The GM inflicts a complication, harm, or cost. If you get 2, you do it well, and if you get 3, you get critical success. And if you roll your number exactly, you get a scroll of swords, and you get to ask the GM a question. E.g., what are they feeling? Who is behind this? What's the best way to blank? How can I blank? Helping. If you have helped, explain the get. Explain, then get 1d6. The font for this is kind of crap.
It's handwritten.
And then it has the tables like Marcus had. For example, I'm just going to go pick all number 1s. The king wants to corrupt the queen, which will destroy the kingdom. And that is Scrolls and Swords.
It is
Straight up a reskin of
Literally.
lasers and feelings.
There's a bunch of them.
Is it also written by John Harper?
No, it's by some other guy.
there's a lot of lasers and feelings ripoffs that are just essentially rethink. I think there's like
I pulled up a bunch from DriveThruRPG. By the way, they're all free.
Yeah.
Can I go through them?
Yeah, just give us some names.
Because the Tights and Fights, a lasers and feelings hack, which is a pro wrestling one.
Oh,
Dungeons with Dragons. You're in a dungeon. There's a dragon. Grab all the loot you can and get out. Teachers and Tentacles.
Oh.
Deputies and Desperados.
Western, cool.
Rocker Boys and Vending Machines.
What?
That's a weird combo.
It's a
high school.
cyberpunk. It's cyberpunk. A rocker boy is a trope from 80s cyberpunk.
Okay.
Hearts and Minds, where you play as a deer in the post-apocalypse who is cybernetically augmented with psychic powers and a gun. Honor and Oni. You're samurai in a mystical version of Japan. And finally, this is the last one I could find. There's probably more. Love and Justice. You are a group of magic girls in Tokiatl, which is you save the world by defeating bad guys and hate with love and justice. You are still learning how to use all your powers. Lady Fuzzfur, your hedgehog companion and instructor in the ways of world saving, was captured by your nemesis and is unable to help you just as the world falls into peril once again.
So it's Tokiatl. So it's Tokyo, Seattle.
Yes. It's
I like it.
it's Sailor Moon one-page RPG.
That's amazing.
That's great.
I'm not gonna lie, I kind of want to do a session 1 on Love and Justice.
Here's one I want to do a session 1 on in 2 years. Specifically 2 years, because you'll understand why. Dr. Magnet Hands. It's on Rowan, Rook, and Deckard, which is Grant Howard or Howitt or something like that. I can't remember. He's the writer of Big Gay Orcs. Dr. Magnet Hands is a storytelling game where you play superheroes looking to save the world from destruction by stopping the devious Dr. Magnet Hands from firing his rocket-powered radioactive castle on the moon into the White House on Christmas Eve. This game was written, playtested, and played drunk. The designer has not been sober at any point he has interacted with this game, and neither have any of his players. It was played live on stage 2 years running at Nine Worlds Geek Fest in London to sold-out rooms. The event was so popular that, without our knowledge, a second bootleg edition of the event called Dr. Andy Magnets ran alongside it to take care of surplus attendees. It is exceptionally silly. You can now download it above.
So
Why specifically in 2 years?
yeah.
Because Lucas is still 19.
No, I'm 20.
A year! Ha
When you said 2 years, I thought for a second you were gonna go way off topic and talk about Cyberpunk 2020, the modern day RPG
We need to cover that.
in 2 years.
Oh, yeah. No, okay. So, also, side note, I was looking this up. Rocker Boys and Vending Machines. You are a group of operatives in Neon City. You take the shadowy jobs that the corporations cannot do themselves. Your leader, Dar-C, has been infected with a strange technovirus which has shut down his implants and left him unconscious, leaving you to take the next job by yourself while he recovers at the local VAT clinic.
Do they all have really dumb knockoffs of Captain Darcy?
I don't think so.
I think most of them do.
Oh, I thought it was going with Dark, but it's
No.
going with Darcy.
Here's a good one. Genius Loci. You are a small god, a genius loci in a quiet town in 1960s South England. That's the entire description of the game. Have fun
All
with
right.
it. Okay, so I think we should go on to the main discussion,
Yeah.
which is why one-page RPGs exist and why they've kind of become really popular in the last few years, with the drunk role-playing crowd. Normal people who would play D&D, but sorry guys, we're just too hammered to DM tonight.
Okay, look.
That kind of thing.
I'm gonna be
What
honest.
are your thoughts? And make
I
it
think
quick. I'm overheating in here.
it's your own damn fault. I think they're kind of popular, not with drunk role players. I'm not even going to entertain that. You guys can entertain that. I'm just going to go straight for the actual answer. Because they're fun, short, and easy to do. So if you're doing it like a con, or you're feeling like, hey, you got some people and you're just hanging out and you say, hey, I want to do something. And it's like, well, you can't just tell a group of people you're hanging out with on any given weeknight, yo, you want to play some D&D? But you can't say, hey, read this one page. We're gonna roll some dice for like half an hour and see what funny shit happens. And that's why I think they've kind of exist and have kind of become popular.
They're also just absurdly easy to do, to make, and everything.
And
Oh, yeah.
Anyone can make them. There's some formats out there that are super easy to follow, like Lasers and Feelings. That format is got dozens of clones.
For the record, I just love the term laser feeling.
Laser Feelings. Yeah,
It
that's
sounds,
great.
for some reason, it sounds dirty.
It does.
The Scroll of Swords.
Yeah, but no, I agree. I think it's because they're so easy to make that anyone can have a funny idea and turn it into one of these games. And they're easy to play. And they're still, and hardcore role-playing game enthusiasts like us, we can say, I love to role-play, but I don't have my dungeon mat with me, or don't have my handbook, but I want to play, a game with my friends and we're all hanging out, and you can just pull this up on your phone and everyone can have a good giggle.
Pull up a dice roller too. Yep.
Mhm.
Oh no. Yep. I'm totally like, you know what?
So which one would you guys want to play of the ones we talked about? Like,
Any Lasers and Feelings hack?
yeah.
If you want to go a bit on the more serious side, I think Cram is, of the ones we talked about, is the best option. It's the one with the most, like, quote unquote mechanics.
It's actually like a role playing game.
Yeah.
Like almost a fully fledged role playing game.
Yeah, and it's also, it fits really well with I guess Lasers and Feelings is also pretty good on having not just be one shot but an ongoing thing, because you can have the mini adventures of the Lasers and Feelings crew.
Because you could
Yeah,
just do SG1 style and just go different places and do random stuff.
Or like, Star Trek, and have it be very episodic and a silly, stupid thing is happening each episode.
The funny thing is, both of those actually have role-playing games.
Yeah, but neither of them are as good as Lasers and Feelings.
Probably not.
I'd probably go with Cram if I had to. If someone said, "You want to play one of these?" I'd say, "Sure, let's play Cram." But that's because I'm.
Cram sounds totally fun, but I'm serious. If we were like hanging out and we were like, also we had some other people there who were like not really into RPGs, but were like, I want to do something kind of fun, but I don't want to like play a video game or watch or I was like, hey, everyone, pull up this thing on your phone and also pull up a dice roller because there's a billion on the internet. Google has one. It's like, we're going to do this for like half an hour. I'd say I'd find that really fun.
Yeah. Cram is also really nice if you have a group of people who like rolling large amounts of dice, because you can reasonably get in a situation where you're rolling 10 d6s just in a pile and picking through for some ones. But I totally wouldn't turn down a Lasers and Feelings style one, because that one also sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I think that's all. That's all I've got.
We nearly killed an hour. We're approaching 45 minutes, so that was pretty good. All right. So if we're gonna wrap it up, which I think we are, any diceless, not diceless, any one-page RPG, I would say, probably be at least worth a look, because it's like 5-10 minutes of your time just to read the damn thing, and it's not gonna and none of them are gonna drive you nuts with mechanics, and probably just be like, oh, this would be fun to play with anybody, so yeah. That's my take on it.
Yeah, that's all I got.
Yep.
All right. So, come back in 2 weeks. We'll cover something else. It might actually be Lords of Gossamer and Shadow. It might be something else. We got nothing. This episode will be up on the archive on YouTube on Monday. So that's tomorrow. And have a good Easter and April Fools. Be seeing you.
Bye.
Nah.
Later.